We made 1,000 people rate their attractiveness from 1 to 10.
1 to 10. We have asked 1,000 people this exact question.
It's not even a word. Is attractiveness a word?
But there's a problem. Most people asked on camera will say,
I'm a 10. All of us are 10.
10.
Women.
So we wanted to find a way to get real honest answers. That's why we created our anonymous survey asking 1,000 people to rate their appearance as honestly as possible from 1 to 10. To get real results, we also reminded them to keep in mind that a 5 out of 10 is the average score.
Would I rate myself? Let me look at myself. I'll give myself a 4. Yeah, a 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10.
And not bad at all. We then collected each person's age and gender, so we could compare the different groups later. And finally, for reference, we also asked each participant to rate this person in the photo from 1 to 10, which will play an important role later in the video. After collecting data for about 2 months, we finally hit the goal of 1,000 participants. And the results were so much different from all the public street interviews you always see. Out of exactly 589 men and 411 women, the most common answer, as you might have guessed, was 7 out of 10. Nearly 20% of all participants picked this number. For many, it's probably the safe zone, not arrogant, but above average. On the other hand, 98 people called themselves exactly average by rating themselves a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll say I'm
there's
average.
The bottom of the scale. 45 people gave themselves the lowest possible score, 1 out of 10. Most of them were men, by the way. More on that later. Now let's look at the opposite side. 71 people gave themselves
average.
a perfect 10. That means 7% of the 1,000 participants believe they are basically the most attractive of them all. The rest of the scores are spread out in the middle range, resulting in an average score of 6.3 out of 10. In total, 678 participants gave themselves a 6 or higher. That means nearly 70% of people think they are better looking than average, which is mathematically impossible. But psychologically,
I can't wait to see these people. These people that are saying that they're 10, did you say 10 out of 10? I think you said 10 out of 10. These people that are claimed to be 10 out of 10, I want to see.
totally expected. A study from the University
Is it
of
gonna show me?
Southampton, England, actually gave this behavior a name, the self-enhancement effect. It's a tendency to overestimate your own qualities, especially regarding attractiveness. But theory aside, we wanted to test this directly. That's why every participant also had to rate the attractiveness of the reference person we included. As you can see, his ratings were all over the place. 18 people gave him a 1 out of 10, while 59 others gave him a 10. On average, he received a 5.8
1 out of 10.
And if you paid
Why?
attention, you might have noticed something.
Bro,
That's
it's not
lower
1
than
out
the
of 10,
average
come on.
self-rating of our participants. In fact, 654 participants out of 1,000 rated themselves higher than they rated their reference person. That's 2 out of 3 people who think they are more attractive than him. To put this into perspective,
not
we
1
had the
out of
face
10,
of our
is
reference
he?
person professionally analyzed. We will spare you the full report, but it's linked in the description. We concluded that the sample person rates somewhere between a 6.0 and a 6.1. That means statistically he should be more attractive than about 70% of participants. But in reality, our participants thought it was exactly the other way around, proving that the self-enhancement effect was very much present in our small experiment. But the ratings of the reference person also revealed something else that's really important. Looks are incredibly subjective. 18 people rated him a 1 out of 10, while 59 others gave him a 10,
1 out of
believing
10,
he's
come on.
one of the most attractive people out there. You simply can't be everyone's type. And honestly, you're not supposed to be. No matter how you look, there will always be someone out there that sees you as a perfect 10 out of 10, even if 999 others don't. Okay, what's also really interesting is the differences between female and male participants. We had exactly 589
Female
male participants with an
delusional.
average score of
What?
5.9 out of 10. And
Think about that, 10 out of 10.
411 female
10 out of 10.
participants averaging a score of 6.9 out of 10. But here's where the results completely surprised us. Out of the male participants, only 28 rated themselves a perfect 10 out of 10. In contrast, 43 female participants also gave themselves a perfect score.
No
In
surprise.
relation, that means just 5% of men rated themselves at the very top. while
Women
over 10%
are
of
obsessed
women
with
did the
themselves.
same, meaning that they were more than twice as likely as men to rate themselves a perfect 10. Additionally, the total average score of the woman was also nearly 1 1 whole point higher. And we're not alone with this finding. A 2018 study titled "Almost Every Woman
I
Thinks
supposed to
She's
read all
Hotter
that?
Than Average," yes, that's the actual title, found that 94% of women believe they are more attractive than the average woman. But why? The most common theory explaining this phenomenon is called the social feedback loop. Women usually tend to get way more positive feedback and praise about their looks. This kind of overly positive feedback, combined with the self-enhancement effect, could explain the significant differences in 10 out of 10 ratings we saw in our experiment between male and female participants.
Yeah, and shall I tell you another thing? Women lie a lot. Yeah, I mean, I've seen all them comments. These women that they'll comment on each other's posts, man, it's cringe. It's cringe and just fake. You can just tell it's fake.
But how about the lowest score? In total, 45 people rated themselves a 1 out of 10, which statistically speaking is also pretty unrealistic. But here's the really interesting part. Of those 45 people, 34 were men and only 11 were women. Even in relation, that means that men are twice as likely to rate themselves at the very bottom. But again, why? It might have a lot to do with body image pressure. The fitness industry, Instagram aesthetics, and the whole high-value male culture constantly push the idea that you need to be tall, shredded, rich, with a perfect face or you don't measure up. And while women often tend to get more external validation and compliments, men sadly tend to suffer in silence. Which might explain why so many guys in our survey felt like they were at the bottom, even when that's statistically and visually not even close to the truth. Okay, you might remember that we also asked the participants to give us their age, just to see if there are any differences. But we didn't expect the results to be so drastically different. We divided the participants into 3 age groups: 15 to 20 years old, 21 to 30 years old, and 31 years and older. Can you guess which group had the highest average score? The lowest is the score of the youngest age group, being just 5.2 out of 10.
I don't know.
In the middle, we have the 21 to 30 year olds, averaging a 6.1 out of 10. And the 31 years and older scored the highest average at 7.3 out of 10. As you might have noticed, the older the participants were, the higher they rated themselves. But why is that? Younger generations have grown up in a world where every face is filtered and every body retouched. Everything is just a highlight reel from someone else's life, not reality. And over time, that destroys your self-image. The younger you are, the more you tend to compare your looks to others. But as people get older, looks usually play a smaller role in how we see ourselves.
Am I the only one here that does not give 2 fucks about how I look? I generally don't care about how I look or how other people look. Is it just me? Is it just me?
Confidence starts to come from other things, like caring for people you love.
I just
so
don't
that
care.
concludes the experiment we've been running over the past 3 months. If you appreciate the work and time we put into this, then please leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to understand how others actually perceive your face, check out our website link below.
Yeah, I just don't care. I just don't care how other people look.